I mean, I'm literally getting my mom back. It's
Wow.
beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful. I was losing her, so, for whatever reason, whether it was because of 3 of these or not, I'm getting my mom back.
God bless you,
I'm
Julia.
so grateful.
Wow. And you're crediting it to this, or there's a big part of that? You really
It
are?
started happening when this started happening.
Wow.
Good morning from the UK. Good evening from Australia. I was just looking at my phone to see what the date is because I've completely lost track of time. 24th of October. Oh my goodness. How has that happened? We are now officially in our, is it 2nd or 3rd Red October? If you believe the hype.
Yeah, and this is Boom Week. This is the final week of the month, so it's going to be a big one apparently.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've heard this. Methinks we may have heard this a few times before. So we are talking today with the lovely David Cowan and Medyhne from Arise Humanity, both in Australia. I'm in the UK, and we are going to be talking about sharpening discernment. It's a big topic, means so many different things for different people. But I think it's a really important one because it's something that, a challenge that every single person faces on a daily basis. It's never done, is it? It's not like you can tick that off your to-do list. It's an ongoing process. But before we jump into that, let's go around the table. David, let's start with men first for a change. How are you doing and how are things where you are?
I'm doing well. Things are good in terms of that. It's been sunny and it was rained over the weekend, but it was nice. It's been nice. My sister's coming from the Cayman Islands at the end of the week, so she's visiting for 2 weeks or so with her fiance. So that'll be fun. I'm meeting him for the first time, and yeah, everything's good. Haven't really doing much YouTube. I haven't been watching any YouTube really. I haven't been doing any videos. It's hard work, isn't it, girls? Like
Yes.
putting out content all the time is hard work. It's not a walk in the park by any means. And even if you're doing just one video a week, it's still quite a lot of work because you've got to organize a lot of stuff. And but I'm doing the health YouTube channel, which I've been working on behind the scenes, where I don't, I'm not involved with anything in terms of just with my face or anything on the video. So that's still a thing I'm doing. But other than that, just been writing music and been doing a different direction in terms of lyrical content. Like I watched this movie, I was kind of stuck. I had this song, I was a bit stuck on like, what's the topic going to be? And this movie popped into my head, and it's about something I know nothing about. It's about the African American street gangs in America. And I watched this movie a long time ago. It's got Jamie, what's his name? Famous guy. Jamie used to be a comedian. Anyway.
Fox.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx, yeah. Movie that he did, but he's in it, and so I watched the movie and I thought I'm going to write about that because I think a good artist should be able to write about anything. So I wrote about this song. Is about how it's called Redemption, which is the movie title, about how he started this gang, and then he later when he was
your sound keeps dropping out, David. Your sound keeps dropping. I don't know if it's
my connection is not very good.
Oh.
Anyway, long story short, the song's about African American street gangs and how this guy wanted to redeem himself by writing children's books while he was on death row. So it was interesting.
Wow.
Interesting to go there. But that's about it.
Constructive way of using his time.
Yeah. And how about you, Catherine? What's new in your area and with your clients and work?
I mean, obviously, we need a new prime minister in the UK again. So I'm thinking that the Wombles or the Teletubbies might be the best candidates that we've got. For me, it's a lot of these things. One of the things that's really come up for me big time is red herrings, distractions, because there's so much. I suppose one of the biggest things I've learned over the last couple of years is how easy it is for even someone famous just to completely make up a false identity and hide a lot of true facts, because most people are quite trusting. And so why would they question these things. If someone's in public figure, you always assume someone else has done the due diligence. And it reminded me of a crime program I saw years ago that sort of said, you know, most women are attacked on busy streets or in busy situations because people always assume someone else will come and help. So, you know, if a violent attack happens where there's loads of people around, on an individual level, they've done loads of studies on this that show that everyone always assumes someone else will step in. So you're much less likely to get help. Whilst if you're the only person that's witnessing that, you look around, there's no one else, you realize it's you or no one else, and people are more likely to step in. And I suppose the analogy for me has been on all sorts of levels, on the big political scale, but also on the more, let's call it the truther scale. I've sort of realized almost the same is true. You know, it's why I was so pleased we were talking about sharpening discernment today, because, you know, I've been caught out loads of times, and I'm sure I will continue to be, but how often we don't really ask those important questions, because it's very, very easy to assume that someone else has done that due diligence work. And I think what we're finding out is no, they haven't. And you know, in this reality now of almost like the Emperor's New Clothes parable, where no one wants to be the one that calls out the bullshit, excuse my language, but, and I'm seeing with things repeated, and Medyhne, you've been really good at sending me stuff, so, or Cowan tuning in it, but you know, this same thing's going around, and it's almost like this scenario, we're going to talk about this in a minute, where if enough people say it, it must be true, but that's not the case. And we're not little kids playing nursery games anymore. And so we've got to put on our big boy pants and big girl pants and actually start asking these difficult questions. So it's been an interesting one. I've honestly been up and down. I'm feeling really, really good on the physical health side of things. I've been really, really good habits for that. Sitting here, you know, I've got my good routines in place and I'm sticking to that. But I suppose on the other side of things, I have, if I'm being really honest, been very up and down, because I've been quite disappointed. I've been quite disappointed in a lot of things, and I held my hand up and realized that's my expectations. But I just like, wow, okay, where are our standards as humanity? A lot of the people, if you're choosing to put yourself in a position when you're standing up, to me, I would take that really seriously, and that is my standards. But I just seeing, it disappoints me when I feel other people are not doing that. And that's something I'm sitting with and thinking, okay, what is this lesson for me? Because it's very easy to criticize the people on the real high level. Let's pick every president and knock them off their perch. But how are we behaving on an individual level is really key. So yeah, a lot of mixed emotions for me in a nutshell. What about you, Medyhne? Where are you at? You looks like you're in a flower garden, but very pretty, very, very pretty.
I thought this sure to cheer everyone up when they see these flowers behind me. I think it's actually a shot from Italy, which is really beautiful. But anyway, a festival or something. So in Australia, you know, the energy hasn't been that great here where I am, because we've had incredible floods. All down, you know, the from Queensland right down to Victoria, and Lismore's one of the townships here has been hit the third time with really extreme flooding. So there's all this weather, I believe, modification going on, and really impacting people's lives in a quite a, you know, tragic way sometimes, you know. So that's all happening down the East Coast. And then we've got in Queensland, there was also a regulation that came out that I wanted to share, which was I think it shocked you, Catherine, when you heard, but it's to do with over 8,000 health practitioners in over 16 health professions, including those of other states as well as Queensland, are bound by the amendments of a national law that will see them not only fined, deregistered and are jailed for up to 3 years for going against the official government narrative. And not only that, but also for publicly denouncing in public disclosure statement anything that they're, you know, their own sort of belief systems, all in the name of public safety. You know, this is basically extreme censorship, that they cannot have their own opinion or express their own opinion on what's happening. They have to follow the mainstream narrative, or they have, you know, severe repercussions. And so this is obviously, you know, very draconian. And so I personally feel on an energetic level that things are shifting, and there's a lot of positive stuff going on underneath, and I can't prove it because it's all sort of hidden away, but I'm feeling that on an energetic level. But then on the physical level, the 3D level, you know, all this stuff's coming up that is very chaotic and turbulent and challenging. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to plan for, in a sense, plan for the worst, but expect the best. If that makes sense. Yeah.
I love that. I love that way round as well, because, you know, at the end of the day, there's so much talk about moving into 5D and everything. And, you know, on the journey that I've been on of self-development, and I know for you too, we've discussed this many times before, we talk so much about living in the present moment, but so much of the focus of discussion of us humans, because of our personalities and because speech is our dominant sort of sense really and way of communicating with each other, is talking about what's coming and how exciting that is. And I feel, I mean, David, you were talking at the start about the fact that we're stuck in, a lot of people are stuck in these two narratives. It's either the New World Order or sort of almost like Nirvana and the white hats are in control, and more watching a movie. And what about where it is in between? Because, you know, in terms of discernment, when Medyhne, when you sent me that, I was shocked is the wrong word, disappointed again. Disappointed is my theme of the last 2 weeks, because it's not that it surprises me, but I'm like, wow, there's so many distractions if we're all talking about these other things. And I think it's really, really important to focus on things that make us all feel better, because at the end of the day, you know, one of the famous Stoics, I can't remember who it is, said that you could live life right now, so let that decide what you do today. And it's not meaning it in a depressive way that you are going to leave. It's just, you know, none of us know what's round the corner, and, you know, we do want to live the best lives and make the most of the moment. But equally, there's on both sides of the story, there's this huge narrative that we've almost been sort of corralled into believing. Talk us through what your thoughts were on that, David.
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about lots, and I know I mentioned this on the last chat we had about just kind of really trying to figure out like where we're at. And I wonder, like, what's the source? You know, like, what's the source of these things coming? Because you guys mentioned how things are being repeated, and Medyhne, I don't know, you've probably seen these things too, but there was a thing that came around June, July last year, where how we're talking about we were going to be in martial law in August.
Oh, I just got
and that same thing just popped up this year. And
Yeah,
it's
I
like the exact same message. And I'm like, and people forwarded to me. I was like, well, that was last year. Like, it didn't happen. Right? And
incredible. I just got that literally like 1 hour ago. Somebody sent it to me, said, "Oh my God, it's happening."
yeah, and I'm like,
Oh,
you guys
too, as well. Yeah.
and I just don't know, like, who's recycling these things. But then on a deeper level, who even, like, I know that if the cabal didn't exist, then life on Earth would be so the polar opposite of what it is. That's just a fact. But like, where's the we've been fed this narrative of the golden age and all the stuff that's going to come, and, you know, and everything, that even if it's, you know, a bit of information, let's just pretend that thing that Medyhne just read out was something to wake people up. Let's just say it was. That's one thing. But then you look at all the crazy weather events that are happening all over the world, like, and it's just multiple countries, and people are being displaced all over the place, people and animals and everything, and it's crazy. Is that also to wake people up too? I mean, I don't know. Like, it just seems ridiculous. And then you look at the floods here, and now they've got that proposed train line in a, you know, from Melbourne to another town I can't remember the name of, but it's a different train line, because we've had another train line before, which is a bigger one, which they proposed, which just so happened to be where all the fires were, you know. And now they've got the one where the floods are. Oh, to Shepparton. Yeah, from Melbourne to Shepparton. Yeah.
And that's
And there's
where
another one.
a big city. Yeah. That's
So there's
part
another
of
one there.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's obviously orchestrated. You don't just have, it's not a coincidence. It cannot be a coincidence. And if that were the case.
That were from my friends that were in California the last few years, they were saying exactly the same there in terms of a lot of the wildfires there are following the route of something that they want to do. I can't remember, sorry, Americans, with that
train line as well.
Train line as well. And you're just like, as you say.
I just wanted to add, I wanted to add something about the floods, because I saw this, I happened to catch the MSM yesterday. It was really interesting. And the anchor was talking to somebody who worked on some kind of weather. Let's just say he was part of the Bureau of Meteorology or something. I don't know. He was part of something. He had something to do with all the stuff. And they were analyzing the weather and stuff. And she goes, so tell me, what's behind all these floods, and why is there such a short distance between them? And I was like, that's a really strange question to ask, don't you think? Like, if there's something behind it, then you're implying there's something behind it. If it's a natural event, it's a natural event. Like, there's nothing behind it. But you know what I mean? It's a really, really funny question.
Yes, that's why it doesn't make sense, because so many things that these people that are spokespeople and politicians and leaders are saying are actually things that you would say if you're on the good guys team. And it's happening all the time. They're making these slip ups and, Freudian slips and things. And that's what, to me, is a bit of a signal that there's something else going on underneath, because they wouldn't say these things, unless there was really some other agenda where there was being some sort of slow release. It happens all the time. Even today, one of the things that Biden was saying, it was just so ludicrous and ridiculous that, that wouldn't happen unless there was a meaning behind that. And so I don't know, we're having to read between the lines, and it's frustrating, and people are getting sick of it. They want to see clear results, clear answers.
Can I just say on that, though, I am going to play devil's advocate on that one. And don't worry, folks, I'm really not in a really depressive state. But I just want to say that people hear what they want to hear. So that's why if you have a book club, you'll all come out with a completely different interpretation of the book. And we are hearing and we're picking up deliberately. Like I've got a white Audi now, so I'm seeing white Audis everywhere. We are looking for those little snippets that back up our belief system. So we're picking out on those, whilst if you were using those to wake people up, you're completely missing them. So for me, the whole waking people up, I've completely lost faith in that at all, because the only people that are picking up on those are the ones that are consciously looking for things that back up their belief system.
The RAS is locked onto it.
Yeah. And so, and then you could have, another member of your family or something, listen to exactly the same thing, and they completely miss that, and they would pick up on something else. And when you look back now on speeches that have happened in the past, I'll take Winston Churchill's famous wartime speech. I can look at it based on the different narrative that I've been listening to before that. Initially I watched the film Churchill, and obviously being British, we've heard the speech so many times. And I would look at it as, wow, how amazing. And then you hear a different narrative, and suddenly my whole opinion of that speech has changed. And I think this is where I'm wondering, and I'd love your two opinions on. I absolutely believe that there are white hats, dark hats, if you think, that are in this battle and doing it. But do I think that we're all watching a movie and that it's all been sorted behind the scenes? I will put my hand up and say, no, I don't. I think it's very much an ongoing. And I do believe our collective consciousness is part of that, which is why I think conversations like this are so important. But I can also see, myself included, how it's very easy to latch on to what we want something to believe, what we want something to do. And I think are we being led down on this other narrative, like you were saying, David, down a path, is a question I really think is important that we do all keep open to, because manipulation is manipulation, end of.
Well, I think looking at it in context, because I went to uni and studied. I did a BA and a postgraduate diploma in sociology and psychology. And even though I think that a lot of the education today is very about mind control and programming people, there were elements in that were very interesting. And so you look at the 1950s and the 1960s and even the early 1970s, and there was a very strong moral code where society was sort of told what to think, what their morals should be, and it was quite defined. And that was the way that humanity existed. And so what has happened since then is that we've evolved as a society where and now there's basically no boundaries. There's no moral definitions anymore. Everything's, the personal choice of the person. And this is the path of evolution for a soul, because it's no longer we are told how to think or what our morals should be or what our boundaries should be, but we are given the opportunity as a free will soul in as a sovereign being to make a choice that is in alignment with our own inner character and our integrity and our moral code. And so that's why everything's open now. And it's like it's you look at some of the the transgenders in the libraries, and they're doing concerts where they're twerking in front of kids and things. The morals are just all over the place, and it seems like there's just absolutely no moral definition whatsoever. So that's all intentional, because as we evolve as humanity, we need to be able to, as sovereign beings, make choices that are based on our own evolution of free will, not based on the collective consciousness. And so I think that's part of everything that we're seeing as well.
Oh my God, I think that is such a brilliant point, Medyhne. I think you've really hit the nail on the head for that for me, because, again, in my journey, I've now learned how manipulated the swinging 60s was, that it was just an agenda, the same as all the others. And I think that is absolutely key. I've literally got shivers, because you sort of brought out what I've been feeling for so long, is that we've got to stop justifying our behavior based on, well, they did it, that's okay. That's how we behave as children. I mean, is there any of us that didn't say as a child, well, they did it, so and most of our mothers came back and said, well, would you jump off the cliff if they told you to, or would they do this? We've all had those conversations, and yet we're seeing as adults a lot of us would. And there's so many psychological experiments done on human beings that have unfortunately shown what terrible judgments we can take when we believe it's someone told us to do it, for that abstaining of personal responsibility. And I think, for me, that's what people mean by we've got to look at our shadow side. If we don't all admit that we've got this potential in us as individuals, not just as humanity, we can't move on. I mean, is there anyone watching this that hasn't done things in their past that they might feel ashamed of? But if we keep burying it and not admitting that we're capable of this behavior, then we're so manipulatable. That wasn't a word, was it? We're so able to be manipulated.
It is, easily manipulated.
I think that we are used to making decisions in certain ways, like using our mental body to make a decision. But now it's not about just using our mind or mental body, because that's coming from a lower vibrational perspective, which is often based on security and protection and self-defense, the mental body, the mind. We also got to go with our gut and our emotional body. So bringing that mind, that rational, logical aspect of working something out that makes sense, and then using our emotional body and the feeling, if it aligns at a gut level where it uplifts us and creates joy or feels like truth, and then bringing those two together in the heart center, which is the central point where you make your decision from, which is based in divine unconditional love and self-love. So when you bring these two different polarities together and you draw them together in the heart and make your decision from that point, you're going to have a much more holistic, well-based foundation for a good decision than just using your mind. And I think people need to start using these tools that we have that perhaps have been dormant for a long time, that we haven't necessarily needed to access before in the same way that we do now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but also the average person isn't aware of what you just said, and even if they are, or
That's
no,
what I
the average
said.
person isn't. But yeah, no, but the average person is aware of what you just said, and on another note, they're not even aware that practically every decision they make is based on a program. So, and the last 2 years have proven that really well. So,
well, I think it's time to sort of grow up a bit and start to realize all these tools that we have and these different ways of being in the world and different perspectives. That you know, when you're in these times of great sort of challenge, that's when you have to expand your gifts and your tools and your abilities. You know, we can't just rely on ways that we used to be in the world because they don't work anymore. We've got a new reality and it's demanding greater things from us, and we have to rise to the task to bring that forward.
It's so funny, isn't it? I mean, I'm there's so many things that that we should chuck out. So let's take the survival of the fittest, you know, Darwin's theory of evolution. And, you know, I was certainly taught that when I was doing my biology. And then that's sort of been thrown out by a lot of modern science, which, you know, I agree with. But actually now for me, it's coming back full circle in terms of it's what do you actually mean by that? Because when just based on what you two were just saying there, survival of the fittest is a bit like, I feel we're at a time now, this cliche, we've all been saying it for so long, is about you have to go within, you have to go within, it's all about you. But at the end of the day, that's all there is, because all we can actually control is our own behavior, our own reactions, our own belief systems, etc., and keep letting those evolve. And you know, I'm not talking about the classic theory of evolution, I'm just talking about change and move with what's needed in the times now, because it's so easy. I have had a definite period this weekend, and I think I was speaking to David about a bit of it in our messages. Most of my messages are completely illiterate because I always send them before I've read them. But of being affected by situations and people outside of yourself. And of course we're communal beings, so it is hurtful, we do all go through that. But then, you know, you've got friends like you two and you can give some really good advice and you get over that. But we have to go, it's this cycle, isn't it? That's why everything is a wave, that's why energy is a wave in motion. And we know that once you look at that particle, it can change from, you know, a particle to a wave and things like that. And that to me is exactly the ebb and flow of life, and we are all going to go through this. But I suppose I'm really imploring all of us, anyone who's watching this, anyone who's interacting, to just be aware of the narratives that we're being fed on both sides, and do they actually make sense? And if there's a little bit of you that thinks it's not, just to question that and think what it means for you, because this manipulation is really real, and people will manipulate people not necessarily from a bad intent, if you see what I mean. Some people will manipulate people because they genuinely believe that's in their best interest. But if you're being manipulated by someone else's view, you're reliant on the fact that that person isn't a psychopath or nefarious, or having brought up in a deep cult environment, because the people that are brought up in that environment, their beliefs are just as valid as ours. For them, that's their reality, their truth. So who is feeding you this?
Well, it's a fast track, accelerated process to really refining our skills in discernment, isn't it? Because we're being fed all these different versions of everything, and then you're sort of forced, in a sense, to learn how to navigate that and to make decisions. And you can only often learn from your mistakes. So you make a bad decision that didn't go too well. Next time, no, I'm going to do that differently. And I think it's just cutting ourselves some slack as well, and being kind to ourselves, because you know, this is a process and we can't get it all right all the time. That's impossible. And you know, it is very full on, it's very intense, and we've asked, we're not victims. We haven't had this thrown at us. As souls, we've all chosen to go through this experience for whatever reason, and that is our power when we know that we've chosen that. We're not victims on any level. So I think to view it in that way is also really empowering and important.
Absolutely. What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I've had a interesting story today. Somebody told me about a woman who was 28 and she was in hospital, and she'd been an alcoholic for a long time, you know, like 14 years, half a life pretty much. And she was on her deathbed, really. She'd been drinking herself to death, and she ultimately had to have a blood transfusion. And one of the last things she said to the nurse was, she said, "Save me, save me, save me." And I'm like, well, that's the problem, that she has this save me mentality. It's the victim mentality, that she didn't want to have to do the work. She just wanted someone to save her. And I think that's a very extreme example, but you know, a lot of people are in that mentality where they're just looking for somebody to do the work for them. It's just so they don't have to do anything.
I can tell you an example of exactly the opposite. I've got this girlfriend, and she's incredible, and she discovered she had a brain tumor, and so she goes, "I'm going to get through this. I'm going to do it." And she's embraced all the healing modalities, the holistic things, and she has such a positive attitude, and she's even writing a book about how I overcame, you know, my brain tumor with all my practices. I mean, completely the opposite way of seeing it, and not seeing it as a negative that's happened to her, but as an opportunity to get to another level, to upgrade, and to share with others how she overcame it, so she can help, you know, other people. So that was a great example for me. She's amazing.
One of the things I've found with my discernment and Toes, I mean, I'm very lucky because I've chosen to surround myself with animals. So everything you were saying earlier, Medyhne, about emotions, instinct, truing in, I can't work with animals unless I'm in that mode. And it is interesting to then, when you're then having to sort of relay that back to the human that's involved in that animal's life, to see this conscious almost switching between the two modalities and going through. And that's something with experience I'm just getting better and better at. And of course I make mistakes, but you know, I think this is the thing, is depending on our environment, it can be very easy to slip into that mode, or very difficult, because if you're the opposite and you're not surrounded by nature and animals, and you're surrounded by a lot of people that are living very different lifestyles than you, it's quite difficult, because we all do need some reassurance about, am I on the right track or not? And you'll see animals give it to those at the time. But one of the things that works really well for me is if I listen to a lot of podcasts, because I'm walking the dogs, I'm driving a lot, I'm picking up poo, I'm mucking out. So I don't often watch things. I sort of listen to things, and it's different. Sometimes I'll actually stop it and say, I want to watch and see what I'm reading from the body language of the person saying that as well. But I would say if people are listening to people talking about things like this, to really be tuning in, and there's loads of tools and techniques that we can talk about perhaps in a minute, really tune in and think, how does that person make you feel about you, not about them? Because it's very easy for you to listen to someone and for that person to make you feel really good about them, about how great their knowledge and wisdom and life is. But for me, that's another major red flag. It's about how it leaves you feeling. So when we were talking about what you were mentioning, David, about there's the narrative, there's a New World Order narrative, and there's the sort of Golden Age narrative, and there seems to be nothing in between at the moment. And both of them, by the way, are pushing us very much out of the present moment, because both of them are based on promises of the future rather than where we're at right now. But, you know, how are you feeling when you're listening to anyone, or doing a course, or reading a book, or even doing an activity? Is that decision making you feel empowered as a person, or is it making you give your power away to the whatever the resources you're listening to?
Yeah, I think either way, it's definitely giving your power away, because you have to, because you're so future focused. You know, if you're not really focused on the now, you're not thinking about what things you can do now to make your life better, right? Which is what you said before. So Yes, especially the golden age one. I mean, the new and order one is a bit different. They're both different, but the golden age one, as great as it might be, and I really do hope we get there, you know, is one of those things like, oh, the golden age is coming. We don't have to do anything now. You know, we don't have to do anything. You know.
Well, I think with that too, the other aspect of it is you're drawing it in by holding that frequency and that thought
True.
and that energy. You're bringing
Yeah.
it down timeline into the now moment. So it's a very profound spiritual tool or technique. Yeah, and with me, with energy too, if something's an effort, if it doesn't flow, if it feels like drudgery or I can't make myself do it, then I know that it's not in divine alignment and I shouldn't be doing it, and I step away. Like if I'm listening to something and it sort of like isn't really feeling like it's easy to listen to, it's a bit of exertion, or I feel tired, for example, while I'm listening to or something, then it doesn't feel right. It's not in the flow. So just being really, I think, aware of your energy, like you were both saying. I think that's really key.
I think that one of the things I sat in on your one of your workshops with Ian Medyhne on the golden age, and the difference is when you're working with these things, you and your workshops with Ian, etc., you're very much focused on empowering the people involved to be doing the work right here, right now.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that's the case of what you do with your music, David, and what you're doing with your new health channel as well. And what I'm doing with all the work that I'm doing on health and wellness. Like I've got a November group coming up, which we can talk about in a bit, because I think there's a big difference between all helping each other out to be putting tools and techniques in our lives now, which are making a difference right here, right now, because I do believe it's about drawing the energy to you. Look at the sickness and health sort of things. There's every single one of us can be making decisions right here, right now that are going to be very beneficial to our health or very derogatory to our health. But it's hard to make those decisions if you're already in a very low place. Like the example you were talking about the young lady who was an alcoholic, David. It's so hard when you're down there to pick yourself up. And of course, it's much easier to spot that you're going down and stop it and course correct before you get there. But we do all learn life lessons, and sometimes the best lesson is to hit that rock bottom. And it's different for all of us. We're all on different journeys. But I think the beauty is when you're giving people tools and techniques where you can actually feel different right now. So like with you, David, your music, you can shift someone's vibration like that with the right music, but you can also do it the wrong way around with the negative thing. So there's so many ways that we can do that. Should we share a few ideas about what works for all of us to sort of keep us in? Of course, we all, I've got children. I want a great future for them. I want them to have a really good life now. So what are some of the things that really work for you, Medyhne, in terms of right here, right now, keeping your vibration high and your life on course?
Sure. Well, it's really important to be in nature regularly. I think that's a real key. We take our puppy for a walk on a beautiful avocado plantation, and we pick up avocados everywhere we go, which is lovely, and bring them home. So that's really nice. And so having that time where you're focused on those sorts of things and you can relax. I think people are generally too overstimulated, like their nervous systems, and they go and busy. You have to take time, I think, to be still and to let your system have time out, and just even if you're sitting quietly listening to some beautiful music, or sitting in a garden quietly and just having no external stimuli apart from quiet and stillness and things. I think that's super important at the moment as well. There's so much going on that we need that. And I think also being really conscious and mindful of the energies that you're taking in. So if you have somebody in your life who is draining your energy, just be really mindful of that and have really clear boundaries. And if your cup's full and you're feeling really good, sure, you can extend yourself to someone like that if you really want to speak to them. But if you're feeling drained and then you attach to the energy, you're just going to deplete yourself, and there's no good coming of that. So I think being mindful of how full your own cup is, how you're feeling, and you know, all the basic, you know, self-care practices at the moment are key. You know, having some exercise, eating as healthily as we can, drinking filtered water, getting plenty of sleep, not allowing ourselves, if we're feeling run down or low in frequency, to tap in too much to all the you know, the scary information that's out there at the minute about what could potentially happening that we can't prove anyway. We don't know for sure. So, you know, just having really clear boundaries with what we allow ourselves to consume on that, you know, social media side of things as well.
Yeah, lovely. What about you, David?
Oh, just before I say what I'm about to say, I wanted to add something which occurred to me, and I don't know why it didn't occur earlier. And it's about the golden age, but it's also about the law of attraction. You know, when you're focusing on something, that thing will come into your life. Sometimes even without you having to do anything. Sometimes these things just happen. But one of the biggest words in the law of attraction is the word action, and I think that we, as a species, you know, we are the golden age. You know, if we want to see the golden age, we need to take some action to actually make it happen. So, you know, it's the government is always going to be a reflection of our consciousness, isn't it? So and people are more aware now than they were 2 years ago, for sure. But if we really need to see, and I know it's difficult with all the corruption and stuff, but you know, if we're going to be ushering in this new world, we need to create it. And it starts from within, and it starts with the individual. You know, we can't. How can we also create something if we're not clear about what we want to create? And as a race, I don't think we're very clear at all. You know, if we were clear, we wouldn't be in the position we're in now. So we really need to.
What is your vision of utopia? You know, I could ask every person, and a lot of people go, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's exactly why most people don't live their dream life. You know, because they don't know what their dream life is. You know, I worked in sales briefly, and I spoke to a certain niche of people, and I asked them their goals all the time, because that was part of my job. I had to ask them their goals, and 9 out of 10 people, actually maybe even 100% of people, all said, I want a house and I want a car. And I was like, really? Is that what you want? Because everyone's saying this. Everyone has the same answer. You possibly can't want all the same things. You know what I mean? I mean, it's okay to have those things, but it's a program again, and it's we're taught to just want these things, you know, and you've no thought to the reason why we even want those things. So we need to get very clear on what the golden age means for us first before we even attempt to create it.
And that's what I was saying earlier about that sovereignty of really identifying for yourself, you know, what it is that you feel, what it is you believe, what are your moral standards, what is your ideal life. You know, it's all coming down to our own ability to have that sovereignty within ourselves. And yeah, sorry, I was butting in there a bit, but I was getting passionate because you were saying some good points.
Yeah.
Yep.
But to add to the high vibe thing, I mean, everything Medyhne said, really. I mean, eat high vibe foods, don't eat any processed stuff, get out in nature, and do the things that you like to do, because that's going to raise your vibration really well when you figure out exactly what you're passionate about and what your heart really wants. That in my opinion has one of the biggest, well, in my experience, is one of the biggest vibration raises for me. And also go onto YouTube and look for some frequencies that you can listen to that aren't the 440 frequency, because there's lots of good ones out there. I think you have to be a bit careful sometimes, but you'll know if you'll know if you're vibing with it, if it makes you feel good or not. So yeah, listen to those. Just listen to them while you're working and stuff, because it's really nice. They're nice, soothing kind of sounds to listen to. And you know, if you get some 528 or 432 or 796 or whatever, any of the other ones too, that also helps.
I think also I'd again agree with all of that, and for me it's I'm going to come back to the good old journal, and I've let this slip a little bit, but I started again this weekend, because when you're tuning in, when I did my holistic lifestyle coaching, which was absolutely fantastic with Paul Check, one of the key things is that is absolutely imperative to living your best life is to really knowing how you feel. And it's amazing how many people don't know how they feel physically, emotionally, spiritually. So even on the physical side of things, on both sides of the coin, and I get exactly why. When we're saying this, there's no judgment in it at all. But so many people will not pick up the first sign that something's going out of balance. By the time they realize that there's something wrong, the symptoms, whether it's on a mental or a physical side of things, have got really, really severe. And again, we can tune in and pick up the first sign that things are going wrong and go and course correct. So it's even as simple as when you're eating foods, you know, what does it do? Tuning in when you're drinking something, when you're eating something, how do you feel afterwards? And it's amazing when you start tuning in on those physical cues, how everything else starts dropping into place, because it doesn't matter whether you're, if you're not listened to, you've got two ways of dealing with that. Look at children, look at animals. You can either get more extreme in your behavior to try and make yourself heard, or you can retreat into the corner. And this is what our bodies do to us. This is what our hearts do to us. And this is what our minds do to us, all of them. This is what our microbiome does to us. You know, so some people will have the constitution, the body type, whatever, where the symptoms are more and more extreme until they have to. But other people, it will just hide away and think, I'm not being listened to. So therefore I just give up. And this applies to our heart as much as anything else. So the one thing I would really encourage people to do is start listening to yourself and learning about yourself, because you can't coach, help other people, influence other people if you're not even listening to yourself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's having that sort of open communication channel with your body. So that it's like you're having a communication to a person, but it's your body, and it is like a personality. It has things it wants to convey to you, but we don't listen. And I think that if we learn to do that and have that like a really good channel of communication with our bodies, you could just overcome all the hurdles before they happen. And you know, it's very preventative. I mean, you're talking about preventative ways of being in the world, which is so important at the minute.
Yeah, you always have to help yourself first. It's not selfish, because it might seem like that sometimes, you know, to some people, but it's not, because the more you help yourself, the more you can help others in so many ways. You know, if you really think about it, like a couple of years ago, I was at this house and we were picking up some stuff, or we're dropping off some stuff for these people who do some good stuff for charity, and the person I was with said, "Oh, it's always the people who don't have much that are doing the most for charity." And I was like, "Well, is that really true?" You know, I mean, in some cases, yes, but in other cases, a lot of people that become financially successful give like a good portion of their wealth away, or their earnings every year to charities. Like I met a guy who told me he said he does. I don't know if he actually does this. 5% of his income apparently he donates to charity, and you know, we can get into all the what's about which charities are good and which are bad, but it's not really the point. The point is like that their intention is good, you know, and you can't, you know, you can't help people. It's very difficult to help people if you don't, as they say, put on the oxygen mask first. You know, make yourself really abundant in all areas, not all, but as many areas as possible, that you can then share your knowledge or share your money or do whatever it is. You know what I mean?
It was a cabal program, actually, to say that, you know, when you help yourself or do something for yourself, you're being selfish. That was an actual program that was put into us to stop us from, you know, excelling and reaching our potential. Because if we're functioning at our highest potential, we'll have the biggest impact in the world, and we'll be able to help more people as well.
Absolutely.
That's just definitely a very strong dark programming that has infiltrated in a lot of people subconsciously. You know, there's that sort of Christian ethic where they really say that as well, and it has done a lot of damage on the planet, that way of thinking.
And leadership and things, you know, if someone's trying too hard to tell you how good they are at all these things, I'd be aware. You know, you don't need to tell people you're a good leader. You know, people will either pick that up about you or not. You don't need to tell people that you're a healthy person, they'll pick that up or not. You don't need to tell people that you're doing it for the good of this or that, or you're not interested in views, or you're not interested in wealth. If that's even in your forefront to mention that, then, you know, that saying, methinks he protests too much, comes to mind. You know, the thing is so I would just, and again, it's not in a judgmental way, it's just in a case of like, okay, you know, am I still tuning in with myself? Have I got my own best interest? Because exactly as you were best saying, then we're in the best position to not only help others, but also we're in the best position not to be a drain on others. And we all will be at times.
Precisely.
When I'm ill, you know, I'm lucky enough I've got people that can help look after me. You know, and that's a very fortunate position to be in, because a lot of people haven't got that. But equally, it's really nice to be in a position where you know, that energy balance is equal, and you're not in a position where you need to take more than you can give on a long-term basis. I'm not talking about a short term. So I'm quite conscious of the time. I really could talk to you two for ages, because there's so much we could all talk about. But let's just go around the table, because we're going to finish off with one of your new songs, David, as well. So I'll start with Medyhne first, and we'll finish off with David so we can play out the song. Medyhne, what else do you want to tell everyone about before we finish off for today?
Well, I just did a video actually on the self-love journey, and how, you know, it's a process for everyone. And I talk a little bit about how it's been a process for me. If anyone wants to look at that video, it's sort of interesting, because, you know, just sharing that journey is it's actually quite hard to do, you know, and make yourself vulnerable to share that. I have to push myself, but I thought you can do this, and I put that on my channel. But I also are feeling the same as David, that I think sound frequency healing is really powerful and important on the planet at the moment. So I've actually been guided to record a lot of songs and put them on my you know, songs that already known, and just recording them and putting them on. But they've got frequencies that I think are really helpful at the minute, and for people to you know, sing and use this tool, this resource we have of high vibrational sound and music to help them at the moment on the planet. I think that's really key. I've got my beautiful Patreon community. We're doing some great things there. I've got my soul healing group for the planet, and we're doing really fantastic healings. We're doing a big one tomorrow, where we join together and we find places in the world that need healing, and we send healing there. We sometimes do it on ourselves. Have community chats with my that, and also I've got workshops still with Ian Welsh that are getting booked out very, very quickly. We're up to the 5th workshop now, and there's still availability there. But there's also an advanced class too that there's some availability, but they are getting booked up really fast. So if people want to join, and getting incredible testimonials and responses from those as well. Plus, I'm doing my mentoring and my sessions. So if anyone wants to work with me, just contact me. I'd love to work with you. And they're going amazing too, getting some fantastic results with people, because now is the time really to do the work on ourselves. It's really, really important, because the planet's so accelerated and we've got to keep up. And you know, that there's an aspect of us hopping on the wave as this opportunity comes up for us to really have accelerated growth, and it's a gift, you know, in some ways. So yeah.
Fantastic. David, what about you?
I don't know. I'm not doing anything crazy, you know.
Oh, you've got your new YouTube channel, the link below, where you're
yeah. I've got
health tips.
YouTube channel. I'm experimenting with some shorts videos, you know, the 1 minute videos.
Oh,
See how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm going to look forward to my sister coming over and spend some time with her and her husband to be, and who's Irish, by the way. So that should be interesting.
Lovely.
And yeah, but other than that, yeah, I'm just creating and working, really. Yeah, and getting out. I'm actually getting out and doing a few things. You know, going to movies, going to shows and things now. Now
Brilliant.
that we're allowed to, we don't have to be jabbed to do it.
Fantastic. And before we finish off with your song, I've got a workshop running in November with my Asea community, because I'm doing a lot of work both on an individual level and on a collective level. I'm going to be opening up some more Zoom groups to work with for over a 3 or 4 week period. Medyhne and I are still looking at doing something together on that as well. But have a look on my YouTube channel. You'll see some details about that and connect in with me. And I'm doing a lot of one-on-one sort of mentoring or consults, depending what it is, working with animals and humans, because it's so important that we get some of these basics right. Medyhne, you're just going through the dog food course at the moment, aren't you? So
yes, I am. Great, thank you.
yeah,
learning a lot. And my dog, oh my God, energy levels yesterday were unbelievable. I was holding the lead and it just flew out of my hand because he just ran so fast, because I've been following your guidance with the foods. And he was bananas. He had so much energy.
They're so great teachers for us, aren't there? And we've all mentioned a lot about nutrition and food and water today, and we're doing everything because it's so important, and we mustn't forget our poor animals in this as well, because they're dependent on us for choices. And just like we've all been brainwashed with all the other aspects of our life, we've been very much brainwashed about what's good for our animals, which is why dogs, cats, horses, everything are living a lot shorter lives now. You know, what we think is an acceptable life now for a dog is not normal at all. It really isn't, just like us. So, you know, there's lots of resources out there, and if you want to connect in with us, then please do. So David, tell us about the song that you're going to play us out with today.
Well, the lyrics are very self-explanatory. I'm not at the stage yet where I can write these kind of esoteric, you know, lyrics, you know, that have perhaps a lot of meaning behind it. So it's very, very literal. So nobody will have any problems figuring out what the song is about. But I actually wrote the music for this song, well, the piano part of it, about 3 years ago, actually, when I was kind of going through this. I didn't have any recording equipment. I just had a piano and my phone. And then I just was going through my catalog of things, and I thought that one could be cool. So then I created this song. So
what's the name?
I went to, the song is called, let me get the order correct, because it's a bit of a, Frame Me, Shame Me, Blame Me, Save Me, or something like that. That's not the order, but that's kind of what the song is about. But you'll see when I play it.
Brilliant. We'll play that and
my screen.
We'll say goodbye to everyone, and we'll finish off. And as usual, all the links will be below.
And this one I'll be releasing in a few days. So it's not out yet, but it'll be in a few days. I'll be releasing this one.
So send me the link when it's available, David, and we can add it in, and Medyhne can below the video. And I'll also, please do go to my Catherine Edwards Life and Catherine Edwards Health Telegram channel, because I share a lot of stuff on there that I can't share elsewhere. Not that this we can't be sharing elsewhere, but it is a good facility to actually share things on.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Can you guys hear it?
No, I can't hear that, David.
Can you guys hear that?
No. No. Good old technology. That's why I always get everyone else to do it, because I know I'll mess it up. That's for sure.
Or maybe if you send us the song and we can add it on the end.
Let me have a look. Oh, I think David can't hear us now, so the mic isn't working. So I think that's a really good idea. What we can do, David, send us a song, and then we'll add it on.
It's all right now.
Oh, it's working now. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Could you hear it before? Was it playing?
No.
No. Okay. If it doesn't play, then I'll just have to send it to you because I don't know what's going on. But if it doesn't work again,
Yeah, try once more, and then if not, send it to us, and we will add it on at the end.
okay.
Yes.
Saw through the government lies. They did nothing but play me. Gave you a piece of my mind. You said that I was crazy. Things didn't add up. They made you doubt yourself. Mass manipulation and media mind control. No intuition in your position. With every little word just creating division. Now watch how the people take what they say and just run with it. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Seems like they planned this shit. What you gonna do when they come with the fifth and sixth? I don't wanna shift time, that'll split mine. I'll stay still cause I saw through the government lies. They did nothing but blame me. Knew that the media lied. They did their best to frame me. Just take the shot and you'll get back all of your life. They kept saying, gave you a piece of my mind. You said that I was crazy. Universe gonna shift you. Thought it was a gift you heard from your inner review. Walking off a cliff, you this stalking and shocking, provoking your knowledge and talking and mocking and stroking your ego through college. Stand here and be judged or gaslit, cause I was born into this world as a misfit. But you did everything so that you could fit in. Do you really wanna know why I don't get sick? Cause I saw through the government lies. They did nothing but blame me. Knew that the media lied. They did their best to frame me. Just take the shot and you'll get back all of your life. They kept saying, gave you a piece of my mind. You said that I was crazy. Don't try to save me. No more slave me. You're not tricking me, 'cause I can see through the government lies. They did nothing but blame me. Knew that the media lied. They did their best to frame me. Just go to hell and we'll take back all of our rights. We don't need saving. Gave you a piece of our mind. You said that we were crazy. Blame me, shame me, frame me, save me. Blame me, frame me, save me, crazy.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
That's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much for doing that. That was absolutely lovely. Well done. I love people sharing their talents.
All Dave's songs are so catchy. Like that chorus is like, oh, and the words. I love the words that you use. I mean, who else is writing these songs? You can't mistake what you're saying, Dave. It's really, I love it.
Yeah. It's very obvious. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you can all be playing that at your parties and see if that subliminal messaging goes in. Thank you so much, you two. I always really love our chats. Thank you so much for anyone that's watching. And I'm sure we will be back again next month and we will see where we're all at then. Have a brilliant day, everyone. Bye.
We love both of you.
Bye.
Bye.